So what is the bard like in the One D&D playtest? I was interested in this, so I thought maybe you guys might be interested too. Keep in mind, this is coming from a guy who's played a lot more Pathfinder than D&D. I've played a little D&D 5e, but much more Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2e. So I am by no means an expert on D&D 5e. All that being said, let's get into the video. So of course, Bardic Inspiration is up first. This is just like the old Bardic Inspiration from 5e, where you roll a d6 and add it to a d20 test, which is of course an attack roll, skill check, or saving throw. But now the difference is you can use it as a reaction instead of a bonus action. I do think this is a bit of a nerf, because before you could give it to them as a bonus action, and then they could use it whenever they wanted. Within the next 10 minutes, of course. But doing it as a reaction does mean that you free up your bonus action to do other things. Also, I do think this got a nerf in terms of the number of times you can use it per day at low levels. Now, the number of times you can use it per day is based on your proficiency bonus instead of your charisma modifier. So you can use it less times per day at low levels, but about the same at high levels. I do wish that Pathfinder 2e had something like this. Maybe not exactly this, because that would be broken. Yeah, to get even remotely close to this, we've got to be a Maestro Muse and take 2 feats. And we have to spend focus points for it. And we only get 3. So I do think that 1D&D and D&D 5e are better in some ways. For spellcasting in 1D&D, it's pretty much the same as it is in 5e, but the big one is now you're limited to certain schools of spells. Yeah, now you just get Divination, Enchantment, Illusion, and Transmutation arcane spells. I believe this can give them access to more spells than they could in the original 5e. However, I do wish that they would have given bards their own spell list, like the Occult list in Pathfinder 2e. Instead of just limiting them to certain schools of arcane spells. Also, I do find it interesting that bards are prepared spellcasters now instead of spontaneous. I've always known bards to be spontaneous casters, so I found it interesting. Alright, at level 2, it's expertise. Yeah, 5e players out there, you get this at level 2 now instead of level 3. Getting double proficiency bonus to 2 skills would be downright broken in Pathfinder 2e. Especially since proficiency stacks with level in that game. In 5e, I do think it's pretty good though. Then of course, instead of the standard Song of Rest, which allows you to heal during short rests, there's Song of Restoration, which allows you to always have certain healing spells prepared. Now whether that means you always have them prepared and can cast them multiple times per day, or not, I don't know. If this is the case, then they definitely need to change how the Healing Word works or the death system. Otherwise, this ability is downright broken. Healing Word is already broken in 5e because of how the death system works. They need to add something similar to the wounded dying condition that Pathfinder 2e has. If you're coming to this video from 5e, I'll explain. So in Pathfinder 2e, every time you go down to 0 hit points, your wounded condition increases. Your wounded condition is added to your dying condition every time you go down. Which means, every time you go down, you get closer to dying. At 3rd, you get your Bard subclass, but I'll talk about that at the end of this video. At 4th, you get an ability score improvement or a feat. Except now, ability score improvement is an actual feat. At 5th, we've got Jack of all trades. With this, you add half your proficiency bonus to any skill that you lack proficiency in. This is very similar to the Untrained Improvisation general feat from Pathfinder 2e. With that feat, you add half your level as a proficiency bonus to all your untrained skills. And later, at level 7, you get your full level. In addition, all classes in Pathfinder 2e can take Untrained Improvisation as one of their general feats. But this seems to only be a bard thing in D&D 5e and 1D&D. Speaking of 7th level, at 7th, we get Font of Bardic Inspiration. In D&D 5e, bards didn't really get anything other than higher level spells at this level. But getting inspiration back on short rest is good. Very good, in fact. It even now has a built-in failsafe, which is very nice. At 8th, it's another feat, and at 9th, it's expertise in 2 more skills. Pretty basic. And at 10th, it's a Bardic subclass feature, which, again, I'll talk about the one we got in the One D&D playtest at the end of this video. Okay, for level 11, we get magical secrets instead of at level 10. So we get 2 spells from another spell list. This does make up for the fact that bards don't have their own spell list in this system. Being able to cast spells from other traditions is a pretty rare thing in Pathfinder 2e. You've either got a multi-class or you've got to be a sorcerer, and take the cross-blooded evolution feat. But that only gives you 1 spell. This gives you 2. I mean, sure, you can get cantrips and some specific low-level spells from ancestry feats. But being able to cast higher level spells from different traditions is a pretty rare thing. At 15th is further magical secrets, which gives you even more spells. At level 18, we get access to superior bardic inspiration. Now when you roll initiative, you get 2 uses of bardic inspiration back. So you always have at least 2 uses of it during combat, which is great. Yeah, in Pathfinder 2e, all we can give is a +1 to a specific check, depending on what cantrip we use. I do think that Paizo wanted to get away from the crazy bonuses that Pathfinder 1e had, so that players would be more inclined to work together. Instead of one guy getting crazy bonuses and dominating the combat, which I totally understand. It's one of the reasons why I love Pathfinder 2e so much. And at level 20, we get a Epic Boon feat. Now, I don't know anything about Epic Boons, but if you get it at level 20, they must be powerful. Now, the only subclass we got for bards in the One D&D playtest was the College of Lore. And of course, we get features for this subclass at 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th. Starting at level 3, we've got a few bonus proficiencies. Arcana, Nature, and History. Arcana and Nature are great recall knowledge skills in Pathfinder 2e. I'm sure History is the same in D&D 5e. Now, I don't know how knowledge works in D&D 5e, but knowledge is most definitely power no matter what system you're in. So this is fantastic. At this level, we also get Cutting Words. Now we can use Bardic Inspiration to debuff our foes, which sounds like a great teamwork option, especially if you don't have spells to debuff opponents. At 6th, it's Cunning Inspiration, which allows us to get advantage on our Bardic Inspiration roll. This sounds incredible. Just straight up, go for that 6 on the second roll. Why not? Unless, of course, you got the 6 on the first roll, which then there's no point. But, you know. At level 10 for this subclass, they added Improved Cutting Words. This allows you to, when you use Cutting Words, deal psychic damage to the target. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that psychic damage is really rare and really good, because almost nothing resists it. There are a lot of spells in Pathfinder 2e that do something similar to this. But as far as I know, nothing really huge in 5e like there is in Pathfinder 2e. But debuffing an enemy and damaging them with the best damage type in the game, really good. And at level 14, it's Peerless Skill. This is similar to the Peerless Skill from 5e, except that if you still fail, you don't expend the dice. There are feats in 2e that are similar to this, except they turn critical fails into fails, fails into successes, and successes into critical successes. I do think that what Pathfinder does in regards to this is better, but this is still pretty good, especially for the system it's in. So what do I think of the Bard in the One D&D playtest? I think in some ways they're better than Bards in Pathfinder 2e, and in other ways they're not. I do think that they're a good teamwork class for the system that they're in. But then, Bards always are. Teamwork is literally what they're built around. As I said before, I do think that if some of the Bard features in One D&D worked the same in Pathfinder 2e, they would be just straight up broken. So if you guys want me to do more videos like this on One D&D classes, leave a like and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys want me to cover next in the expert classes. And until next time, teamwork is vital.